clock's 4 minutes slow.
That's okay. We'll have the actual time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to ordinary meeting of Hunters Hill Council 4547. Could I ask you all please to be upstanding? I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land and waters of Hunters Hill, and that Council pays its respect to elders past, present and emerging. Councillors and guests, we are joined today by Rabbi Rogut, who is very welcome, who's going to deliver the prayer.
Before I commence with the prayer, I'd like to express my deep appreciation for the council inviting me to come tonight to open the meeting. I think it expresses this wonderful gesture of a family, municipality, of the warmth of inclusiveness, irrespective of color, race, and religion. I'm Jewish, and I'm very, very happy that you gave me the honor of coming here tonight. I share with you a short prayer. Almighty God, Council gathers here tonight to conduct the municipal affairs of Hunters Hill Council. Council acknowledges the Walumidagil of the Eora Nation as a traditional custodians of all land and water of Hunters Hill, the council, the local government of Hunters Hill. Council pays respect to the elders past, present and future, and extends this respect to all Aboriginal peoples living in or visiting Hunters Hill municipality. We thank the Almighty God for the privilege of living in this beautiful country and municipality where we are blessed with life, liberty, and equality of purpose. Bless His Worship Mayor Zach Miles and all the distinguished councillors. Grant them the wisdom and strength to conduct all municipal affairs with continued success. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Rabbi. It's very much welcome to have you here, and thank you for your contribution.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
The proceedings of all council meetings in open session, including all debate and addresses by the public, are recorded and webcast live on council's website for the purpose of facilitating community access. Webcast archives are stored and available to the public on council's website. The recordings may be disclosed under the provisions of the Government Information Public Access Act of 2009, the GIPA Act. Members of the public attending a council meeting may have their image, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded, publicly broadcast and archived, or as an observer or other interested party, members of the public consent to the use of their image, voice and personal information. Councillors, we haven't got an apology, but Councillor Kassab is not present at the meeting. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Lane.
It's a apprehended conflict of interest. As you know, I'm Jewish, and given the matter of 3.1, I think that it needs to just be declared. I assume that there's nothing actually preventing me from doing it, and I've taken steps to address any conflict that I might have.
So that would be a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest, and you're comfortable staying in the chamber. And it is religion is one of the things specifically included in the Local Government Act that you don't have a conflict on, just for your awareness.
Sure.
I would imagine it is absolutely appropriate that you stay and contribute to the debate on item 3.1. Councillors, any other conflict of interests? If not, I'll move to item 1, confirmation of minutes of ordinary meeting 4546 held 23 June 2025. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Prieston. Councillor Williams, any discussion? No. Any further discussion, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Councillors, I will now move to item 3.1, which is a notice of motion from Councillor Tanus Sleeman about combating anti-Semitism. We have a number of speakers to this item, the first of which is Colonel Michael Scott, who I'll invite to attend the podium. Colonel Scott, you have 3 minutes to address Council. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Shalom, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Michael Scott, CSC. I'm not Jewish. In my first career, I served in the Australian Army for over 3 decades, rising to the rank of Colonel. Today, I appear before you as the CEO and the founder of the 2023 Foundation, a charity I established to combat anti-Semitism through education, lived experience, and community engagement. I rise in full support of the motion tabled by Councillor Tanner Sleeman. Let us be clear, anti-Semitism is not a Jewish problem. It is an Australian problem, a Western problem, a civilisational problem. Anti-Semitism is a serious and growing concern in Australia in 2025. Across the country, Jewish Australians are increasingly afraid to wear a Magin David, a Star of David, in public, afraid to identify as Jewish on a hospital admittance form, afraid of being burned alive in their places of worship, afraid that their children will be assaulted on the way to school or while on school excursions. Some are now contemplating emigration to Israel, a nation at war, not out of ideology, but out of a deepening crisis of confidence in the willingness or ability of local, state, and federal authorities to ensure their safety and dignity. In Hunters Hill and surrounding areas, we've seen troubling developments. The recent defacement of the local state member's office with an anti-Semitic slur was not merely graffiti, it was a deliberate act of hate, intimidation, and exclusion. The slur was visible from the bus stop used daily by staff from the Montefiore aged care home. This is not some distant issue, it's here in our own backyard. The facts speak for themselves. Since October 7, 2023, anti-Semitic incidents in Australia have surged over 300%. This is not just online rhetoric, it's physical assaults, targeted harassment, vandalism, and acts of personal and communal intimidation. But statistics tell only part of the story. What matters more is how we respond. Hunters Hill may be a small council, but moral courage is not measured by size. The motion and the accompanying local strategy demonstrates principled leadership. It tells our Jewish neighbours, you are not alone. It tells the wider community, hatred has no place here. And it sends a message to other councils, this is what leadership looks like. We are proud to live in a multicultural, pluralistic society. It is one of Australia's great strengths. But it must be actively protected, nurtured, and renewed. In closing, I commend Council.
So I move extension of time. Councillor Priest and seconded. Councillor Lane. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Sorry, Colonel Scott.
Thank you. In closing, I commend Councillor Tanner Sleeman for her courage and leadership. I urge all councillors to support this motion, not merely as a gesture, but as a meaningful act of solidarity. Together, let us make it clear anti-Semitism will find no sanctuary in Hunters Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Scott. If I could just, sorry, Colonels, I could just keep you at the lectern. Colonel Scott, sorry, could I just keep you at the lectern just if councillors have any questions of you, councillors? Any questions? Sorry to get you back up, apparently not. Thank you, Colonel Scott.
Thank you.
We have a second speaker, the Honourable Anthony Roberts, MP, State Member for Lane Cove. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Welcome back to the chamber, and you have 3 minutes.
It's great to be here, and thank you to Council for allowing me to speak on this matter. Since those heinous crimes on October the 7th, our Jewish community in Australia has been targeted, vilified, and ostracised for no other reason bar their ethnic and religious identity. What occurred at my office wasn't some random act. It was a purposeful act, and it was no paint. It was etched into the office, a disgraceful piece of anti-Semitism. I have a young boy who's Jewish that works in my office, who now finds it difficult to come to work. He doesn't feel welcome in Gladesville. We have a large Jewish community in my electorate that again have been targeted with the sole purpose of, I think, an act that causes harm within the community and concern within the Jewish community about their safety. Thousands of dollars of damage were done. And as I said, this wasn't just something that was random. It wasn't done in lipstick. This was etched into our public office in Gladesville. So I commend Councillor Sleeman and the councillors for bringing this forward. This is not part of our community. It never has been part of our community, this hatred. We need to make a strong stand here tonight to ensure that we have that peace that we've always had. We've had that accepting of all beliefs. And again, when you have people that work at Montefiore Nursing Home, they catch that bus outside my office. You have the workers there, you have the people who come up and shop and use that bus stop from our Jewish community, but also more broadly within our community, that they had to be subjected to what was basically hate crime. So again, thank you. I commend you for your courage. I commend the courage of this council for taking a stand on this, because that act had the sole purpose of causing fear amongst our Jewish community. It's not acceptable, and I'm pleased to say, though, I'm not pleased to say, but it was not someone from our community. I want to thank Right Area Command and the detectives there who have apprehended this individual. And this individual isn't from our community. This individual came in from outside of our community to sow this hatred. So again, I commend you and I thank you for standing up for our community, particularly our Jewish community.
Sorry, any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Councillor Lane.
Mr. Roberts, would you just be able to confirm whether they were charged with anti-Semitism?
That's a matter. He's yet to appear in the courts. The individual is out on a very heavily conditioned bail. But my understanding at the moment, there will be, as part of that, potential charge. I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Which carries a significant jail penalty.
Thank you, councillors. Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We have a third speaker to this item who's asked that a council officer read her statement out at the meeting, which is Kathy Miller. So I'll ask the General Manager to read her statement out.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. To all concerned, please be brave and let the condemnation of anti-Semitism motion pass tonight. We Australians need to quash this scourge and stand on the side of good moral values.
Thank you. Councillors, we have a motion that's been proposed by Councillor Sleeman. Is it seconded? Seconded, Councillor Vergara. Councillor Sleeman, will you wish to speak to your motion? Yes.
On the 22nd of June 2025, the office in Gladesville of our local MP, Anthony Roberts, member for Lane Cove, was vandalised with the words F Israel scratched onto the front window. Video footage showed that around 5:46 p.m, a man appeared to spit on the front window and then began scratching the glass. This was a shocking anti-Semitic incident and an attack on our whole community, as well as our Jewish residents. The vandalism was highly visible and was outside a bus stop that staff who work at the Montefiore Hunters Hill Aged Care Community Home, a significant aged care facility serving the Hunters Hill community, including many of who are Jewish. Sadly, this is not an isolated incident. Anti-Semitism has reached dangerous levels that are unprecedented in Australia. According to the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, there has been a 316% increase in anti-Semitic incidents since October the 7th, 2023. Between October 22 and September 23, there were 495 reported incidents. And then from October the 23rd to September 2024, 2,062 reported incidents. And I want to make it clear, these are just the reportable incidents. There are many, many, many incidents that do not get reported. Anti-Semitism is often described as the oldest hatred, and it continues to manifest in many harmful ways, including hate speech, graffiti, property damage, conspiracy, rhetoric, and physical violence. Hunters Hill Council confirms that anti-Semitism will not be tolerated under any circumstances and recognises its responsibility as a local government to actively oppose hate in all forms and foster a community where every resident feels safe, valued and respected. We are a large multicultural community with approximately 3% Jewish background. And although local Jewish institutions aren't concentrated within Hunters Hill itself, the municipality is connected to surrounding areas, including Woolwich, Bladeville, Lane Cove, and Ryde, where Jewish residents access community services, synagogues, and cultural organisations. Hunters Hill Council acknowledges this regional interconnectedness and the role it can play in fostering interfaith and intercultural solidarity, and it's important that we make a clear commitment that bigotry and any form of discrimination will not be tolerated. Anti-Semitism threatens the security of Jewish people and communities around the world and is a driving force of many violent extremist ideologies. Like all forms of intolerance and discrimination, anti-Semitism has a profound impact on the whole society, undermining peace and human rights. Anti-Semitism is no longer confined to extremist circles and has become increasingly mainstreamed, including on social media. Addressing anti-Semitism through education is both an immediate security imperative and a long-term educational investment to promote human rights and global citizenship. Hunters Hill Council has long supported multicultural values and social inclusion through community engagement programs that promote intercultural understanding and anti-racism, and local partnerships with schools and community groups to support education around diversity and historical remembrance. As such, Hunters Hill Council acknowledges the need for a formal localised strategy to combat anti-Semitism. The strategy should outline Hunters Hill Council's plan to contribute to this national and international effort, taking local action to support the Jewish residents, promote understanding and uphold the dignity and the safety of all our people in our municipality. Our multicultural society is one of our greatest achievements in Australia, but it is not something we can afford to take for granted. It requires our constant attention and united effort to stop anti-Semitism and help promote the unity and harmony within our entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tanu-Sleeman. Any speakers against the motion? For the motion?
I'd like to propose an amendment.
Yes, Councillor Lane.
Would you like to bring it up, or should I just speak?
Has it been sent through?
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Sorry, Councillor, we'll just get it on the
sure.
screen so that everyone knows what we're talking about. Councillor Lane.
I agree with you. I think that anti-Semitism is on the rise, and we should be looking at it. As I said, I had an apprehended conflict, and one of the ways that I dealt with that is I reached out to the church warden at St Augustine's, and I reached out to a prominent member of the Muslim community and I asked their thoughts as well. And then I reached out to yourself and the mayor, obviously, earlier today. One thing I've observed, aside from the fear that we're all experiencing at the moment with this rising hatred that, caused myself not to make a song and dance about being Jewish until now, is that there is an increasing polarization in the community that's a result of the war, and people are conflating the issue of the war in Israel with Jewish identity, which is a problem. And so we saw, for example, the envoy, the Prime Minister's envoy, getting a little bit tied in knots about that issue. And I think it's worth clarifying in the motion the distinction between Israel and criticism of Israel and anti-Semitism, partly because I think that by conflating the two issues, the people who are justifiably frustrated with what they see as an external power doing things that they don't agree with, going after Jewish people. And because I'm a Jewish person doesn't necessarily mean I have a view one way or the other with Israel. I certainly would like to see it continue, but the Israel of Golda Meir and the Israel of today, they're very different places. And so I think it behooves us to include in the motion that specific distinction between Israel and Judaism. And secondly, as one of our esteemed members of the Muslim community pointed out, there is also a rise in Islamophobia that's going on at the moment, and the two are related, obviously. I think you've done a great job in item 2 of pointing out that we need to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of prejudice and racism against minorities. I think that 3 should reflect that language, or as he was proposing, that we just say anti-Semitism and Islamophobia as the 2 main issues. And like any policy, I think this needs to be brought back to council for endorsement. So those are the elements. It was great to see Rabbi Rogat here. He, I believe he married, or might have been Rabbi Porish, my mum, of this memory, who just died earlier this year. She was born in the war, so it's quite incredible to see us come full circle to where we were back in the 40s, dealing with very virulent forms, and I hope we don't get there again. And so we need to stop the polarisation of these kinds of debates as much as possible. And I urge you to
Thanks, Councillor Lane. Is there a seconder to that amendment? Councillor Williams. That amendment's now on the floor. Councillor Lane, do I take it you've spoken to the amendment? Do you wish to expand?
I might do the reply that's needed.
Any speakers against the amendment? Councillor Vergara, sorry.
Anti-Semitism is a distinct and more complex problem than other forms of prejudice. It is the oldest and the deadliest group hatred. Jews are targeted not only as a religion, but as a race, ethnicity, and nation. The Jewish community is this country's present principal hate target, with synagogue arson, car fire bombings, home and office vandalism, doxing, and hate speech. At this time, a focus on combating anti-Semitism is appropriate and indeed necessary. An attention on anti-Semitism may not always be necessary, and I sincerely hope that at a time in the future it is not. But right now, it is appropriate that we should resist attempts to equivocate or divert attention away from this very real and very present danger. Resolve and action are needed to respond to all forms of prejudice and racism. But right now, given the prevalence and prolific nature of anti-Semitism, it is appropriate to call it out specifically and singly in this motion.
Councillors, any speakers for the amendment? Against the amendment? Sorry, not members of the gallery. Councillor Lane, right of reply.
Again, thank you for the lesson in anti-Semitism. I wasn't aware previously that there was an issue, not having all my family die in the war, or 400 years of slurs when they booted Jews out of Britain and kept going. I think the point that I'm trying to make is not that anti-Semitism isn't an issue. I think we're all in furious agreement about anti-Semitism. I think that what's fueling this current rise in anti-Semitism is the fact that there is a war going on in Israel. We're all aware of that. And an aspect of the war in Israel that is making Jews be attacked, irrespective of their position about Israel in the particular war, is that we conflate Jews and Israel. And we conflate what the current government of Israel is doing with the right of the state of Israel to exist. This is one of the ways in which people have gotten into such a knot over the definition of anti-Semitism at a federal and state level. And I'm urging that Council doesn't make the same mistake in its definition to conflate Israel and Judaism, because particularly if someone wants to express a position on Israel, like saying F Israel, and I don't condone the violence or anything like that, but, the fact that they scrawled Prince Charles's portrait as well, I don't think that's a form of anti-Semitism, and I think we need to recognise that there is a group of people who are legitimately concerned about a war, and that the more that we suppress their ability to talk about the war, the more that it's going to manifest itself in acts of hatred towards Jewish people. And I don't want to feed the identity politics that seems to go along with this kind of one-sided conflation. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. The amendments to the motion will be put. All those in favour? Against? That is lost with Councillor Williams voting for. We now move back to debate on the original motion. Any speakers for the motion on the floor, which is the original motion? Any speakers against? Councillor Tanus Sleeman, would you like right of reply?
No,
No?
thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now move to item 4.1, youth services programs on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you to those of the gallery who are leaving us now. Might give you just a moment to vacate if you are leaving. If you're staying for other motions, then that's all good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. You all did really well. Most of you did.
Thank you for coming.
Councillor Preston, I'll just get you to fix that. Councillors, we will. We'll just resume. Councillors, we are at item 4.1, youth services and programs. On page 4 of the agenda. Is there a mover of the motion? Councillor Kassab?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Are you moving an amended motion?
Yeah.
Yes. What is, have you sent that through? It's coming. Yes. Can I just get that on screen? Sorry, councillors. Councillor Kassab, is that your amended motion?
Yeah, but
Yes.
yeah.
I'll
just
just
confused by
yeah,
part of it being
yeah.
black and part of it.
Sorry, I'll read it for the benefit of the council. That one, the report be received and noted that two, the council allocates. Sorry, can you roll up so that I can read it? Sorry, the council allocate $10,000 in the 25-26 budget for youth programs, services and activities. That 3, any money provided to schools must be acquitted on programs which will benefit 2 or more schools located in the Hunters Hill municipality. That 4, the council engages relevant service providers to facilitate programs and or seminars which are accessible to all local high school aged children. These programs and or seminars are to be focused on, but not limited to, mental health and wellbeing, suicide prevention, body image and respectful relationships. That 5, that council engages with the City of Ryde Council to gauge their interest in forming a partnership to work on youth mental health forum for the students who attend the high schools within the Ryde and Hunters Hill LGAs. That 6, the council writes to the Honourable Prue Carr MP, Minister for Education and Early Learning, to advocate for the Man Cave and Enlightenment education programs at Hunters Hill High School. And that 7, that a report for 4, 5 and 6 be brought to the September 2025 meeting of council. Is that seconded? Councillor Vergara, thank you. Councillor Kassab, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, please. So, according to data from the New South Wales Government's Health Stats New South Wales website, in 2022, 905 people in New South Wales alone died from suicide. This was made up of a disproportionate number of men at 702 and 203 women. As per the Suicide Prevention Australia website, 1 in 2 young people are impacted by suicide by the time they turn 25. And suicide is a leading cause of death for young people between 15 and 24. So why did I share those numbers with you? Well, it is to remind us that what we are talking about with this motion is not simply words or numbers on a page, but it is the very real lives of people like you and me, not a discussion. Sorry, my pages are stuck together. Not a discussion that should be used for any sort of political point scoring exercise. This truly is a crisis, a mental health crisis that we all know too well. I've worked with young people, both in paid and volunteer roles over the years. Mental health, body image, relationships, and so many others are close to my heart, and I will always boldly fight for further support and advocacy, particularly when it comes to young people. So why have I made these amendments? Because good governance should be at the heart of every decision we make as councillors. Whilst in principle, I support the incredible work that both the Man Cave and the Enlighten program do, I have to look at the numbers and let them guide my decisions. As a small council, we only have a very small budget and for activities that engage with young people. And I've already met previously with the staff and acting GM to discuss what the council is proposing and where perhaps budget constraints cause us to perhaps miss the mark. I will note that all of the staff and directors have always done an incredible job to develop programs and initiatives around such tight constraints. However, I want to see Hunters Hill become a hub for young people, a place where they live, learn and celebrate without even leaving the municipality. By introducing the constraints in my amendment around the requirement of 2 or more schools to be involved with a program for funding to be considered, it ensures a much wider reach and encourages cross-school engagement. Currently at Hunters Hill High School, only 94 of the students enrolled are residents of Hunters Hill. Of course, I'm not suggesting that just because they are not a resident that they shouldn't get the support. However, we at Hunters Hill Council, and we are here to primarily support our residents first and foremost. Having council look further into opportunities to run programs similar to that of Man Cave and the Enlighten program in a format that would welcome all local high school age children, we'll be able to maximise on the number of children that can be engaged. And yes, I have not supported the funding program specifically at Hunters Hill. However, I see the need and believe that council can and should stand up to fill this gap for all young people, not just for those that attend Hunters Hill High. I would love to see programs such as these rolled out to all schools in the municipality, but unfortunately, council is not in a position to do so. And I do not believe it would be appropriate to give to one school and not the others. In regards to the Mental Health Forum for young people, a number of years ago when I was on the Ryde Youth Council, I developed and ran the very first Youth Mental Health Forum, which saw students attend from both LGAs, including Hunters Hill High. With the support of Ryde Council, I hope that we could partner on something like this in the future. It would reduce the overwhelming funding pressure from just one council and create an opportunity for hundreds of students to be educated and supported in the one place. I do want to make very clear that I admire and respect the work of Reverend Armstrong, I don't think he's here, and the program providers. I hope that through our advocacy to the Education Minister, we might be able to secure funding, and rightly so. I want the students at Hunters Hill High to know that I will do everything I can to support and stand beside them. The first way I'm doing that is by putting my words into actions with my amendments tonight, and I hope you'll support my vision for our Hunters Hill.
Thank you, Councillor Kassab. Any speakers against the motion? Councillor Lane.
Not a speaker against the motion. I had some questions of Councillor Kassab, if I can. The first one was around the community grants program. I noted you said that it wouldn't be appropriate to give to one school and not others. I assume that if this program was to apply through the grants program we'll discuss afterwards, that would be fine.
Yeah, that's a different process completely.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that they have a pathway.
So I can clarify that if because that program is open to everyone to make an application, so the PNC from Hunters Hill Public or Hunters Hill High or Villa Maria or wherever they can make applications and have done so, I think that is definitely a level playing field, and that will be up to that committee and ultimately to council to make those recommendations.
Okay. So long as they have that pathway,
they will.
Yeah. So that was one question, and then the other one was just. I don't have much experience in education, but from what little I understand from personal experience, most of those programs are provided as before or after school care, just because it's easiest to get the kids that way. Did you have you had a chance to speak to any of the providers to see whether or not a non-school based program would be effective?
So, yeah, so I think perhaps for the director could expand on that.
Yeah,
Is that
that'd
okay?
be great.
Through
Thank
Through
you,
you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Lane. We haven't spoken to any providers who are not curriculum based. So the Man Cave program, for example, is provided in school,
Yes.
as is the Harrison Rydell Foundation program as well, which the General Manager and the Manager of Communications and Events and I met with that service provider, which was really an incredible talk and discussion as well. We've met with staff from Hunters Hill High School since the last council meeting also. So we've gathered quite a bit of information, which is very much curriculum based, but not outside of that scope at this present stage.
I think it would also be good to get that discussion to the school principals liaison committee meeting as well, because we haven't seen that from them yet, and maybe we can organise for the PNCs to attend one of those. I know that the principals might not be that happy about that, but I think that would be a good opportunity for each of the PNCs to potentially present.
Because I suppose, if I can comment, the clause around it needs to be provided for at least 2 schools' benefit. I get all of that at the intent.
Sorry, Councillor Lane, are you speaking to the motion or is it a question?
A question, but the question is, if we don't know whether or not that's a feasible way of delivering it, would we benefit, say, from deferring the motion and putting it to the school principals committee or someone, just to get some advice that requirement actually works? Because I'm not aware, like I said, I'm just not aware of non-school based programs.
I'm happy to, I mean, I think that's covered off with a report coming back to council in September. We've just had our principal liaison committee and we don't have another one for another 2 months or so. So I'm happy to circulate that through the school principals liaison committee network, and then maybe when the general manager and director are doing the work for the motion, the report to come to September, we can get some fleshed out.
And then I had one last question, which was through you to the director. The amount in the original motion and the amended motion is 10,000. The 2 programs I think were originally 15, and obviously we've now added to that. How did we come to 10,000?
For you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. So when we met with Hunters Hill High School, they said the amount to run both the Man Cave program as well as Enlighten was actually 9,000, not 15.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we adjusted the 10,000 accordingly to account for the 9,000 for the 25-26 financial year, in addition to some other programs that we might be able to help and support as well. So it was just to give us a little bit of a buffer with that. For example, we want to sponsor the 2nd place prize through the photographic competition for youth, and just do a few other things to get the momentum up and see how we track, and then bring a further more detailed report back to council to look at what we're really going to get rolling in the 26-27 financial year, when we've really got I guess some work on the ground done and we know which direction we want to head in. And I'd also just like to add that when we met with the Harrison Rydell Foundation, they have been doing a lot of work in regional schools. They're bringing that to metropolitan Sydney, and that foundation was actually formed. A very sad story, once again, we've heard them all, but a Year 7 student from St Joseph's High School was Harrison. And so that's how the foundation was formed, when he took his own life. So obviously Hunters Hill is something that's very close to that foundation, and something that we would encourage local schools to be involved with when that program comes to metropolitan Sydney. So that might also be a lovely segue for this council to really support and get involved in that program.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Lane.
Sorry to hug the floor. With the benefit of those answers, I think if we could just make a slight amendment to the proposal. I don't know exactly what it is unless we bring it up. But
No, that's the motion. The motion is, it was an amended motion that was put, which is now the motion. Now Councillor Lane is saying that he would like to make suggest an amendment, if not.
Yes.
So we will try and enlarge it a little, but you'll lose.
That for number 3, it says subject to the report in item 7. which means that if we get a report in September that says we can't do it non-school based, blah, 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 we have the option of going back and funding those two programs.
Councillor Vergara, are you comfortable with that? I think that's.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable. Yes, comfortable. That becomes the motion.
We'll need to add that into seven.
Yeah.
At the end of 3. Yep.
Subject to the report at item 7. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, item 7 says.
I think 7 needs to have the include, because it currently says 4, 5 and 6, so I might need to. If you include 3 in it.
We just
3,
add
4, 5.
3 and then we should be right.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll go back to debate. Councillors, any further discussion? Speakers for, sorry, Councillor Prieston.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just super quickly, obviously, we spoke a little bit about this at the last meeting, and I think we were all in furious agreement that this is an important issue to allocate council funds towards. I will just highlight that this is a perfect example of where financial and commercial due diligence is imperative when we are allocating those funds. Had we have allocated $15,000 at the last meeting in accordance with Councillor Lane's proposed amendment, we would be in a position today where we have over allocated to deliver these programs that are so beneficial to these schools. So I just want to reiterate and say thank you to Annie for your good work and good due diligence, and thank you for going out and meeting these organisations and doing the proper and required due diligence so that we can make informed decisions as councillors for the benefit of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Prieston. Any discussion, any speakers against the motion? For the motion, Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Not having the opportunity to see the amendments beforehand, I've just skimmed them and I think they're worth supporting. However, I think the motion that was brought by Councillor Lane at the last meeting needs to be considered in some light again, in terms of this problem is one of the more significant issues in the community, and it's one that Reverend Armstrong at the last meeting really highlighted for him and for our community, the dire straits that some of our youth are in. Me just allocating $10,000 to something that is life-threatening or life-dependent is not enough. To just go forward without considering the suggestion of Councillor Lane of having a youth officer to actually drive a program, and I agree, it's broader than just one school. It's a program across our whole community and our whole youth. It might be nice to give $250,000 to a art or a photographic competition, but that doesn't get to the root cause of what is troubling our youth and driving them to what is an extreme situation. I think council can do better. I think if we're going to spend $140,000 on a picket fence at Boronia Park, we can surely find significant funds to put into this process. And to me, I see this as a priority, and council is about priorities. And I think we have neglected this issue at its heart for many, many years, and that's not a staff problem. I think it's successive councils have not been presented with or come to terms with the gravity of the situation we're facing with our youth. So to me, it's an important motion to move forward with. I don't think it actually captures the essence of which Councillor Lane was trying to present. And it was his initiative that brought this issue to the table. I commend him for it. So to me, I think we should be spending more money than what is being indicated here. I agree it should be across a broader cross-section of our community and rather than just schools. But I can't see how that can be achieved without dedicating staff resources in a meaningful way. Our staff are called upon to do a range of activities. I think we need to dedicate resources to drive a decent outcome for our youth and our community. And as I say, to get to the root cause of the problem, not just provide activities for people, but actually have meaningful outcomes for our youth.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any speakers against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Tanu-Sleeman.
Firstly, thank you, Carla. I know
Councillor Kassab, yes.
I'm so sorry, Councillor Kassab. Firstly, thank you. I know this is something very passionate to your heart, and despite being so attached to it through that emotional connection, I think you spoke beautifully, eloquently, and again with a good frame against this issue. I don't think we're in any of, as Councillor Preston has confirmed, we're all in violent agreement that we need to do something. Unfortunately, to Councillor Williams' point, yes, you're right, successive councils that you've been a part of probably should have done something about it earlier. The good news is we've got a council that we get things done, and we've seen something put forward. All we're talking about is making some changes to ensure and putting governance around it to ensure that we have a fair process. This year it's 10,000, but next year it could be 100,000, it could be 200,000. Let's start somewhere. This is a good starting point, and I commend the amendment to this motion.
Thank you, councillors. Any speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Right to reply, Councillor Kassab.
Thank you. I'll just say a couple of quick things. I just wanted to clarify, Councillor Williams, you mentioned that it was Councillor Lane's initiative. However, in fact, it was Reverend Armstrong who emailed all of us, and a number of us actually responded to him, as did I. I also spoke with the acting GM and the staff about the program when I received the email. I didn't bring it to the council meeting because I was working out the parameters of the program and making sure that we had good governance around it. So I just wanted to clarify, I'm not putting down what Councillor Lane did.
But fact.
But that's what
Councillors, please.
What happened actually.
Sure.
However, I appreciate your support, and I agree with you. Ideally, I would love to have a youth worker if that was available and we had the funding for that. But yeah, I don't necessarily see that happening anytime soon. But if we can, fantastic. And yeah, thank you to everyone else who spoke. I just hope that we can make the right decision to, as Councillor Tanu-Sleeman said, to get the ball rolling and to start moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Kassab. That concludes debate. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Preston is out of the room. Councillors, we have item 4.1, the Gladesville Occasional Childcare Centre INC deed of licence, 6 Pittwater Road, Gladesville. Is that moved?
Mr Mayor, let's put a motion.
Sorry.
Note that for some reason there's no recommendation in the report. I apologise for that. I don't know where it went, but I'm sure I have.
Councillors,
I've actually moved. I wrote to the General Manager and I proposed the motion pointing out that there wasn't one, and I've also proposed an amendment. So it may be.
I've got if I could just put up the officer's recommendation, then I'm happy for you to put up.
Let's clarify first what the officer's recommendation is that was omitted from the paper. So just pull that up. That the acting general manager be authorised to sign the deed of licence, and that that the term of the licence be granted from 1st of August 2025. Councillors, is that supported?
I would like to propose an amendment.
Propose an amended motion?
Yes.
Yes.
And again, the text has been forwarded. We can amend, we can massage the recommendation now that we have it, but it's substantially the same. So where it says approve the terms, you can change that to authorise the general manager, etc. But the purpose of the amendment, which is use its best endeavours, this is actually a quote from the independent reviewer. So on page 211 of our papers, under assessment and recommendations of the independent assessor, the assessor said if council resolves to proceed with reclassification and then recommends a clause, and I've just added that clause here. So it reads, use its best endeavours to ensure that relocation, full establishment and opening of an occasional childcare centre managed by council or a not-for-profit organisation such as the GOCCC offering affordable fees is operating from an agreed, similar, local, central, accessible and suitable site, these are their words, in Gladesville, Hunters Hill, before the sale of land and without any interruption to the occasional childcare service.
Sorry, councillors, just wanting to clarify something. Is that seconded? Sorry, that motion, councillors? Councillor Williams, seconded. That becomes the motion, as opposed to the recommendation, which we saw before but is not in the papers. Councillor Lane, would you like to speak to the motion?
Absolutely. As you will be aware, one of the reasons why we're regularising the licence is that there's been a lot of concern about the Gladesville Occasional Childcare Centre losing its home, for want of a better word. And this was reflected in the submissions made in the RIDE hearing and has therefore been reflected in the independent assessor's recommendation. And the point of this is not to frustrate council's plan to reclassify the land, but rather to ensure that occasional childcare is provided in the area, because obviously it's an essential need that all councils provide in some fashion or another. I think that given that we're talking about the deed of licence, it's the most appropriate place to do it. I'm happy to amend item 1 to reflect the wording of the general manager, but I think that the best endeavours of council to try and relocate the occasional childcare is for the benefit of all of our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Can I just ask, would you be comfortable with the amendment of item 1 to the item 1 reflected in the recommendation that wasn't a recommendation because it wasn't in the report?
Yes, as I said, I'm happy to adopt those.
Councillor Williams, are you comfortable with that item 1? Yep.
Can we please read it again?
Sorry, so we'll pull it up and make that amendment. Apologies.
And sorry, I should have mentioned, for the benefit of the non-lawyers among us, the reason for best endeavours is it's an aspiration. It's not a ironclad commitment. If we can't do it, we can't do it.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Question, Councillor Prieston.
Yeah. Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps to the acting GM. I'm just concerned about using the language that council will manage an occasional childcare service. That's not the business that council's in, and I don't want there to be any grey areas about council's obligations in relation to maintaining, establishing and running a childcare service. I presume that is not Councillor Lane's intent, but the way that it is worded opens us up to that.
General Manager, I would say maybe supported by council, but I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I had an issue with the word managed by council because we don't. Also raise or bring to council's attention, it's this occasional childcare centre doesn't just service Hunters Hill Council children, it services RIDE and anyone else that wants to drop their kids off there. So for us to be the sole person to make sure there's a suitable site, it really needs to be on RIDE, City Council and Hunters Hill Council if we're going to be real about it and fair dinkum about it, because it shouldn't be just us as a small council providing a service for a service that's actually outside our area. So I think there probably needs to be a slight broadening of the. I mean, I'm comfortable with it because we said we would certainly help them to find another site and for them to be able to operate an occasional childcare centre. It's important for families, but I think a bit of the emphasis needs to be pushed back on the RIDE City Council for them to be looking for sites as well. We've provided the building for a long time, and maybe it's time for them to provide it for a while as well.
So,
Councillor Lane,
if I can just clarify then, General Manager, like I said, I was just going off the report, but do you think that the spirit would work better if the word managed said supported, and if where we said use its best endeavours to ensure we had words to the effect of best endeavours to, together with RIDE Council, ensure? Does that?
We can't put an obligation on a third party without
Sorry, Councillor Preston.
Work with right council to ensure.
General Manager, sorry.
All we're going to do is be asking them to help us. So I don't have an issue with that in right council.
Councillor Lane, did you wish to change the amend it to reflect?
If I can,
that?
yes.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Lane.
So it would be use its best endeavours to, comma, working with right council or request, working with right council, comma. Well, yes, you asked me to, and changing the word.
Sorry, councillors. Let's just get this right, please.
And the word, where was it? I think it's already been changed, has it?
Yes,
It's already changed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Williams, are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes. We'll move back into debate. Councillors, any questions or clarifications? Questions? Councillor Preston. Sorry, hand is up first.
Something very minor. There's a typo in the notice details section. It says Alexandra Street. It's Alexandra Street for the address.
If we just, yeah, we can, if you have a small amendment like that, we can just get that sorted in post. Councillor Tanous-Sleeman, question?
Big question. What's the vacancy occupancy rate of the occasional childcare centre?
I'm not sure that we get that reporting, but I can ask the
I'll have to
general
take that on
manager.
notice and come back to you.
And
I can circulate that.
it is.
You don't mind?
The occasional childcare centre services, how many children?
It's around 50 children at a maximum,
Yeah.
But the occupancy rate is quite high. And as it's occasional care, as you can imagine, it's a bit of an ad hoc process, even though the occupancy is quite good for the local area. And I believe it's service, we can take it on notice around 35% of Huntersville families, majority in Ryde, of course. Certainly the families that do use the service find it to be exceptionally of high quality.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, Councillor Bagara.
Genuine procedural question.
Yes.
Clear. So 10.9 of the meeting code of practice requires a motion which, and the words are, which if passed would require the expenditure of funds on works and or services other than those already provided for in the council's current adopted operational plan. I think that means only 12 months, but ensuring or best endeavours would require some expenditure of funds, I would think. Are you comfortable, through you, Mr. General Manager, that this proposed number point two doesn't, if passed, require the expenditure of funds?
General Manager,
We would not expend any funds without coming back to council for approval. And
It's a different question.
but I see this as us trying to facilitate another site that they can rent. And it's nothing, and we don't have to contribute to that rent or pay any money. It's about us helping find another site for them to be able to relocate the service to if and when we would give notice.
Okay.
I don't really think we're committing to any real expenditure.
You are if the word is ensure, unless it's used reasonable endeavours, work is right to assist with the relocation, not ensure it. When you have ensuring something, you're going to make sure that it is done. So what you're committing to there is you're committing to ensuring the relocation, full establishment and opening. So I would suggest, if given what you've said, you understand it to mean you change the words to use its best endeavours to work with right council, assist with the relocation.
that's up to Councillor Lane and Williams. I don't see, with best endeavours in there, I don't see an obligation, but it's, and you've heard from the General Manager, but I'll leave that to Councillor Lane.
Yeah. Again, I would agree with you, Mayor. The reason why we use the language best endeavours is to give ourselves some room if we can't facilitate it. And I have used the word ensure because that's the word that appears in the independent planner's recommendation. I don't want the motion to fail, but equally the motion does seem to be watered down, continuously being watered down by our friends on the other side. And I would just ask that if the intent is to support the spirit of what the independent assessor recommended, we should go with it.
Thank
But
you,
if it's
Councillor
the
Lane. Sorry,
difference
Councillor
between
Lane.
you
Just
voting it down or not, then we can make the amendment.
Councillors, we'll move back into debate unless you have another question, Councillor Vergara.
I do have a question.
Yes.
The recommendation of the independent assessor, is that a condition on the planning proposal? So it's conditional on it being reclassified to operational land that you have this condition?
I don't believe so, but the director can get on that, or the general manager.
No, the land has been reclassified.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillors, move back into debate. Any speakers for the motion? Sorry, Councillor Williams. Another question. We're full of questions tonight, councillors. Councillor Williams.
Oh, you've got to explore the issues to make sure you know what you're voting on. Through you to the General Manager, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering if I could get some indication as to what the intended use of this land ultimately is. We've gone to the trouble of classifying or characterising or whatever. What is the intended outcome of that from a General Manager's point of view? Where are you heading with this?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the intention is to create the highest and best use and get the best value out of that site to put back into other community infrastructure within the municipality of Hunters Hill. And that will be working with Ryde Council, who owns the adjoining land, and they're now starting to want to talk to us about a joint venture / proposal for the site, which we would put to the marketplace at a point in time after it's come back through council. But the aim is to actually convert something that's a very old building that's in need of a lot of work and turn it into something that actually creates value for this council to be able to put into other community infrastructure.
Councillor Williams.
Mr. Mayor, but I'd have to ask
Yes. Yep.
about that. What would the General Manager anticipate to be the time frame for that process to take place?
It'd be a number of years.
Councillor Williams.
Well, on that basis, I'll move an amendment. Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
That the term of the lease be increased to a minimum of 2 years.
Councillor Williams has moved an amendment. Councillor Lane, do you agree to the amendment?
Before I do, if you will indulge me, Councillor Williams, I asked Councillor Vergara, whether or not with amendments you would support too, and if it wasn't amended, whether you wouldn't support it. And I'm just trying to understand, just taking off your lawyer's hat for a second, is there a pathway where we can agree to the motion, the clause?
Not sure what the question.
If we want to get that conversational, Councillor Lane, we'd probably have to go into not called it used to be called closed session, but committee of the whole now.
Could I make a comment, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
General Manager.
I would have thought, given the 12-month lease and a 12-month notice period, we've covered the 2 years off as a minimum. And that was the whole for the structure of the way I've structured the license to have some time for us to do the work, and then and plenty of time for the centre to work through options for relocation.
Councillor Williams, are you satisfied with that?
No, Mr. Mayor. The reason I've raised that is that any facility as important as the occasional daycare, whether it just provides for solely or provides across other communities outside our municipality, I think it's imperative for them to be able to operate effectively, to have as long a tenure as possible. They have to recruit staff, they have to have the community's confidence that they're going to be there, and to just give them 1 year with 1 year notice, I think is not adequate for an important community asset as that to be viable and operate. I think if council has no real plans at the moment, no real intent, except maybe it might do something in the future, any process to sell or to develop or to do whatever will take at least 2 to 3 years. I think we need to give that important facility in Huntersville, and Huntersville has provided that facility for 50 or 60 years. So I think we owe it to what is a very dedicated group of people who unfortunately weren't involved early in the piece to know what was going on until it actually got to its final stage. The courtesy that they have the opportunity to at least know that they have sufficient time to have adequate staff and have the confidence of the community that they're there to serve.
Thanks, Councillor Williams. Councillor Vergara, question? Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, probably to the director. It's right, isn't it, that the childcare has been operating viably for the last 6 years on a month-to-month lease?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Councillors, we have a motion in front of us. There's a proposed amendment that hasn't been seconded or agreed to by the mover.
I'd ask Councillor Williams if you could foreshadow it as the.
Nobody's got the appetite.
Yes.
I think they've been hard done by.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Williams. There is a motion on the floor, moved and seconded, that Councillor Lane has put. Is there any further debate or discussion? Councillor Vergara.
This might answer Councillor Lane's question, I think. I'm happy to accept the motion on the basis that the understanding is, despite the express words, that the intent of the amendment is for us to do whatever we can to assist them to relocate, not to use best efforts to provide a facility, to run a facility. So it's to be open to the possibility of relocation and re-establishment at some point in the future. If everyone's happy with that, despite the express word saying something different, then I'm happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Vergara. Councillor Williams, question?
Yes, when this matter's been previously discussed at council, the opportunity to include this facility in a EM or whatever it is.
BPA.
Yeah.
Yes.
In any development in the new Gladesville Centre, is that a viable option?
I think that it would be too early to have. I mean, those certainly discussions we can have, but that's probably preemptive to the process that's underway at the moment, because the planning proposal hasn't been approved, nor has there been a DA or a BPA discussion sort of substantially commenced, as I understand it. So certainly I think that that's something the GM can take on board, or acting GM.
Certainly in our thoughts, councillors, that when they do land on the table with some offers, then this is one of the things that we'll be discussing with them.
Yep.
Opportunities.
Councillor Prieston.
Can I please foreshadow the original motion in the event that this motion fails?
You may.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further debate?
Oh, sorry, I have one question.
Councillor Vergara.
When we did the Croquet Cup lease, we asked questions about what are their outgoings, what's our cost, is it cost neutral? So I asked the same questions for this lease, because the rent is $1,012 for the year, and it's not actually payable until 2027. You're going to be out of money for a long time. So
they'll continue to pay rent. They're paying rent now, and they'll continue to pay rent, and it just extends on. So they are paying rent, but it's not very much, no.
Okay, but your document, which is the lease, says they'll pay $1,012, and the first instalment of that payment is due on the 12-month anniversary of the commencement date, which would mean you've got August.
I've picked that up as a mistake.
Okay.
So it's from the date of the start of the lease, and they'll be paying the month-to-month amount up until that period of time.
But the question about does $1,012 cover our cost? Is it cost neutral? Same question we asked the Croquet Club.
I very much doubt it, but I'll pass to the finance director.
You got any figures on that? I need to come back.
We'll have to take that on notice, councillor, and send it back to you. Councillors, is there any further speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Councillor Lane, right of reply.
Thank you. As I understand it, the reason why we're doing a licence is because there's a degree of uncertainty about that provision, and in order to give certainty to parents sending children, everyone has agreed, council and the providers have agreed that a 12-month lease would be a minimum. I think that the reason why it's low rent is because we recognise that it's a public benefit to have occasional childcare providers. If there was a concern, I suppose, to your point, Mayor Miles, around Papilio, you could always put in a clause that if they stopped being a not-for-profit, that you reviewed, that kind of thing. But I feel that that's already been done and dusted. I am concerned, though, that the foreshadowed motion is hinting at the fact that once again we are going to do nothing to support these key community institutions that are in Hunters Hill, even using our endeavours to find them a home for continued use. And so I would urge all of the councillors to see the benefit in having continued provision of occasional childcare in Hunters Hill, and to vote for the amended motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is lost. Councillor Williams, Lane and myself voting for. Councillors Tanous, Sleeman, Prieston, Bagara and Kassar voting against. The foreshadowed motion is now the motion on the floor. Councillor Prieston's moved, seconded. Councillor Bagara. Any discussion?
Get it up.
Yes, we can get it
Please,
up.
sorry.
Yes, the original motion
In the report.
in the report.
That's fine.
What would I have been looking at that one?
Yes, councillors, the acting general manager be authorised to sign the deed. Councillors, please. Be authorised to sign the deed of licence and the term of lease be granted from 1st of August 2025. That's the motion. Is it seconded? Councillor Bagara. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. I now move to item 4.3, progress report on delivery. Yes, Councillor Williams.
Bring forward the item that's a little later to speak to.
Both items. There's only what? Sorry, item 4.11.
Yes, that's where we've got these.
Councillors, there's a motion to move item 4.11 forward. Is it seconded? Seconded, Councillor Bagara. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with the dissent of Councillor Prieston. We now move to item 4.11, which is the revised Hunters Hill Council policy with disposal of council land. We have two speakers to this item, the first being Annette Gallard. Thank you. Annette, you have 3 minutes.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to address council on this very important matter. The Hunters Hill Trust considers that this draft policy can be improved. The disposal of land policy is very important because the unique characteristics of Hunters Hill municipality mean that it is extremely vulnerable to being exploited by those who are more interested in money and profits than community, heritage and environment. This policy does not acknowledge this unique historic context. Land is only seen as a financial asset rather than as an intergenerational legacy that significantly contributes to community life. Words like surplus to community needs cannot just be determined without a framework and community consultation to guide such decisions. Whose values are being used to determine whether council land is surplus and what process has led them to that conclusion? Some decisions, such as landlocked small pockets that can only be accessed by one landholder, may be easy, but others that involve substantial community assets require more discussion. Procedures and guidelines could promote transparency in how decisions are made. We have already seen that decisions about future uses, a term used in the draft policy, can in time be a cause for regret. The decision to sell the site of Bladesville Village Shopping Centre was seemingly a great idea at the time, yet down the track when most of the money has been spent, it has created more problems than it solved. A developer has been able to persuade those in power that the returns from the equivalent of two 23-storey buildings are required to make good on their investment. This has become a lose-lose-lose for council. Lost time and ratepayers' money in multiple iterations and consultations, lost opportunity for affordable housing, of which Hunters Hill has none, and lost community trust. None of us can foretell the future, so how will future need be determined, and again, by whom? We believe selling council land should not be a first option, but rather one that happens only in special circumstances. This is where the concept of long-term leasing has an important role, and we're pleased to see it included in the draft policy. This allows the question of whether it is valuable to the community in the future to be determined over time, rather than a sale which is forever regretted. We believe that there needs to be more transparency around the selling of all council land.
Sorry, councillors, moved to extension time. Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Lane. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Please continue.
Council has made a great start by having an internally restricted asset repurposing fund into which the proceeds of asset sales can be credited. However, this fund had more than $7 million in March, but is projected to have only just over $4 million in June. Where did this money go? It would help if quarterly budget reviews documented the credits and debits from this account. There also needs to be more transparency about how council decisions on the disposal of land are implemented. We note that 16C Vernon Street is on the agenda tonight in a confidential session, the outcomes of which all need to be known public. Nor how the sale of Euthella Avenue is progressing. In some circumstances, commercial in confidence discussions will be necessary to be held behind closed doors, but there is an information vacuum in the community that goes against council's commitment to transparency. New infrastructure is crying out for a definition. Why should community halls and other buildings be sold to pay for footpaths, roads, drainage and other infrastructure? The community might be more engaged if they knew how funds might be used. In this regard, the reclassification of Fairlane Hall to operational land leaves this community facility vulnerable to a potential sale. If this were to happen, the community needs to be able to see a completely transparent tracking of funds. We certainly don't support asset disposals to support operating deficits in council's accounts. The Trust is not opposed to all land sales. Last year, of the 4 proposals brought before council, we supported 2. However, we do take the sale of publicly owned land very seriously. It's why we propose that this policy needs more than a cosmetic makeover to ensure that it contains appropriate safeguards and deserves further consultation before adoption to add clarity and transparency.
Thank you, Annette. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Vergara.
And just looking at the paper we have before us, which is the attendees. So you're an objector to this motion?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Priest.
What's the question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the General Manager?
Yes.
So you can do it once and it's...
Yes, thanks. Councillors, any other questions? Councillor Vergara.
On your own behalf or the Trust? Because you mentioned the Trust in your...
Yes, this is the Trust. I'm the president of the Hunters Hill Trust. And yes, one of the things that's really difficult for organisations like ours is that we can say that we're either objecting or supporting. We can't tick a box that says partially support. And we've tried to show in the last few presentations that we've made to council, we're not against everything. There are bits of things that in fact we support. And in this case, we think that the policy could be improved. We also think that there are some things in here which, even if you decide to ignore excellent suggestions, you might consider in the implementation of the policy.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Thank you, Annette. Councillor Prieston, you had a question?
Don't worry.
Yes, councillors, we have another speaker for, in support of the motion. It's Jim Sanderson. Jim, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I support the trust position as presented by Annette. In my second term as a councillor, I tried on 3 occasions to amend what I regard as a very inadequate disposal of land policy, because it does not sufficiently explain what should be considered before decisions are made. On each occasion, I was told that my amendments were not necessary because the policy was drafted by experts. There is some irony tonight that that Council is considering amendments that include matters which I express concern about, including the now proposed clause 3.1.13 regarding whether there are utility authority assets within the land which would make it disposal unviable. I note Councillor Vergara's recent criticism of me for not contemplating the sale of a piece of nature strip in Lloyd Avenue. On careful analysis, I absolutely oppose this sale for numerous reasons, including that nature strip was laden with utility infrastructure. Give relevant authorities the effective right of veto under Section 38C of the Roads Act. Hopefully, the proposed clause 3.113 will stop future wastage of everyone's time dealing with meritless proposals to sell or destroy subdivision patterns by selling off nature strips. Large changes are welcome. However, they don't go far enough. As I've stated before, I'm greatly concerned that Council selling land to fund continuing operations. It now appears that the inability to sell land that the community did not want to be sold will result in a 2.8 million operational deficit last financial year. If council land must be sold, funds raised must be used for new assets, and community must be given a clear choice as to which of the proposed new assets, the existing or the new asset or the existing asset is more valued more highly. The policy should reflect this principle in clear terms. My notice of motion at Council's meeting in October 17, 2022, recommended that the policy should consider matters like prioritising public interest over other interests, public access, view corridors, streetscapes, curtilage and heritage around subdivision patterns, and areas for trees, other flora, and opportunities for plantings to contribute to tree canopy, biodiversity corridors, and critical habitat. All matters of value to this community.
Sorry, councillors, extension of time. Councillor Williams, seconded. Councillor Lane, all those in favour? Against? I'll do that again. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with with councillors Sleeman and Preston voting against. Thank you. Jim, you have another.
Thank you. I was on my last sentence in any case, Mr. Mayor. I simply wanted to finalise by making the point that it is essential that that this policy measures the value of community land to the community before decisions to sell are made.
Thank you, Jim. Councillors, any discussion, any questions? Councillor Lane.
I had a question for the reporting officer. I think both of the speakers have talked to the need to clarify, and my experience with complex policies that agencies impose on themselves is they usually have an accompanying procedure that does that job. So like the road user space allocation policy, which is short, but the procedure then goes into detail. Is there an intent to develop a procedure to flush out these many complex issues?
I will let the director respond, but I will say if there's any questions of Councillor Sanderson, I'll get to them very.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Jim.
Sorry. Yes, Director,
General
General Manager.
procedure, we'll just be following the policy at this stage.
Okay. Right, thank you. Any questions of Jim? No, thank you. Councillors, we have a recommendation of the revised Huntersville Council policy proposal land on page 333. Is it moved? I'll move it. Is it seconded?
No.
Seconded, Councillor Prieston. That is live on the floor. I will not speak to it. Councillors, any speakers against it? For the motion? Councillor Prieston.
You're on speak.
Councillor Prieston, you got the call.
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I note that this policy can obviously be subject to review by council once per year, if I'm not wrong. And I think that that is all part of the robust governance surrounding this policy. I think it's imperative that we are constantly reassessing our position on policies such as these so that we are making informed, current and responsible decisions on behalf of the constituency. I reject the notion from the trust that councillors have been persuaded by developers in relation to their decision making surrounding certain projects in the community. I, for one, and I hope that I speak on behalf of most councillors at the table, make decisions on behalf of the community, and I act in the best interests of those who I speak to, those who I see around, and again, I think we're not acting in self-interest, we're acting in the best interests of those who reside beside us in Hunters Hill.
Thank you, Councillor Prieston. Any speakers against the motion? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I don't oppose having a policy to deal with this matter, but as when it was originally brought to council, I opposed it and voted against it for a number of reasons. And I don't think these amendments or these changes address that issue. And I do listen to Councillor Lane when he mentions it needs to be underpinned by a procedure. Because at the moment, the way the policy stands, and it's not addressed in any of these proposed changes, is the real fact that there's few definitions and that there's no criteria or framework for decision making by the staff. For me, there needs to be more substantial clarification as to what's meant by heritage or what's meant by now new infrastructure. How can staff make a decision on these issues without council giving some guidance and some framework, which is a good term, or criteria or thresholds to work with? It really comes down to their judgment rather than underpinned by council direction or council procedure. So, like with the LEP, we have a DCP. The LEP is a succinct document that provides the legal structure to how council deals with its planning matters. But the DCP then goes and fleshes out that document to give guidance as to how it should be viewed and how it should be implemented. And I see this document as significantly flawed or doesn't deliver the right outcome for our community when it doesn't have the detail required to make a fair and reasonable decision. I think also that it's important to note that there's nowhere here that actually identifies the need for council to specify how it's going to use its funds. And I think that example that was raised by the Speaker of the Gladesville situation is a very real one, and it's one that we need to be mindful of when we make decisions to sell parcels of land without having an objective as to how that money will be reinvested and used to grow council's revenue base. The Gladesville sale of land 20 odd years ago was done, and council just took the money and did nothing with it. For the last 20 years, it's sit there being eroded and hasn't actually delivered any outcomes for our community. Today, if you sold that block of land or those parcels of land, you probably get 4 times what council got back then. So it's a lost opportunity. It's the same with what's being proposed here. Without having a clear understanding of how those funds will be used, then you're running the risk of again just banking for money, or heaven forbid, being used to offset your operational loss, and having it eroded and not being actually working for our community in renewing an asset. So to me, this policy is inadequate. I said that when it was originally proposed. I think it can be improved significantly. And I do like that idea of a procedural document to give the real direction and guidance to staff as to what's intended by council as an outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Prieston, I assume you have a question?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just in light of Councillor Williams' comments, I wonder, I look at this policy and particularly the items that are being proposed to be added this evening. And to me, it satisfies the concerns that Councillor Williams has up until you come to the point of decision making around a potential parcel of land and whether or not it satisfies all this criteria. That's quite a robust criteria, as most people would agree with me, as to whether you can sell it or not, right? So up until that point, we have, in my view, a robust document which sets the guardrails as to what we can and can't do. And one of those things is where the funds will be generated to provide greater benefit to the community through the provision of new infrastructure. Like, that is actually quite specific in relation to what you can do with the proceeds of sale of a parcel of land. What I want to know, I guess, is how prescriptive could we be in relation to what we could actually do with that parcel of land? My concern is that we come to the decision-making point in relation to a parcel of land, may it be a fantastic valuation, a parcel of land that cannot provide the community with any benefit no longer, I don't know, whatever, let's just suggest that. There should be room to be opportunistic as well. So how prescriptive could we be in that circumstance around what we're going to do with the money? That's my
Councillor Prieston, I would suggest that would be a matter of the council of the day. So any decision on these matters has to come to council for ratification in the first instance, and then it will come back to council for reporting, sporadically, but it would specifically come back to council to make a decision on, and then any funds that came in via asset sale or remnant land sale would then be allocated by council, unless they're prescribed to be allocated to something like roads and footpaths, which in the event of the sale of a road reserve is what they have to do under the Act. It's required under the Act.
So you would say potentially that the policy is quite prescriptive in relation to what council can and can't do with the proceeds of sale of land?
Some of the acts are as well, but I'll let the general manager or director.
Yeah, so the roads is very specific, going to roads, open space, going back into open space. You need to look at the covenants that may be on those properties to see if there's any other direction you need to send the money. And then anything else, that car parks, they have to replace the parking if it's come through, say, would have been Section 94 in those days. And then we've got things like those where we can just do a general sale. You would put a recommendation against that as to it's going to into this fund, into this reserve, restricted reserve, to fund something that council's already, we've got a plan to do. So,
the library.
Like a library, yeah. So,
And does the policy apply retrospectively? I know Councillor Williams referred to a parcel of land being sold some 20 years ago.
No, it wouldn't. No, obviously, if monies have been,
that money goes in a reserve, what's left of it, but not all of it.
I said that as an example.
Yes, I take that, Councillor Williams. I take that, yes.
I was just asking.
So, councillors, please. Councillor Lane, you got a question?
I have a question, and I would like to propose an amendment as well.
Okay. What is your question?
So, the question to the Director of Finance, if I can.
Through the general manager.
Through the general manager, through you.
Yeah.
So an example that's I've been actually wondering about one of the changes was where it says the word benefit. Are we intending to apply New South Wales Treasury parameter values to determine benefit?
No,
Are you talking about 3.1.4?
that's not a question for the director. It's a question for the general manager.
Okay.
And no, we're not using those. That guideline. No, we haven't adopted that.
So what would we use to determine the value?
The value, or the benefit, or the value, or value. If you're giving value, you'll get proper commercial valuation. So you make sure you get fair and true value, and then the benefits will be what is it that council can deliver as a result of actually, disposing of that piece of land. What is it we're going to achieve for the community?
So
Clearly
I suppose
the way council needs to have adopted plan of what they want to be spending money on, because it's and that's libraries and and upgrades to parks and all those things that we've got plans to do, and so the benefits. I don't want to get it too technical, because if we make it too technical, we won't do anything.
So I guess my question really exposes the need for a procedure again. So the New South Wales parameter values go into a lot more than highest and best use. In fact, one of the reasons why Treasury has adopted...
Sorry, Councillor Lane, are you asking a question, or are you proposing an amendment?
Sure, I'll propose the amendment. So the amendment, other than the procedure, I've already forwarded to the General Manager, but I'll add the need for a procedure to it. I think we've just shown the need. So this is in relation to a different issue, which is that we keep on talking about remnant lands, but our land register is over 3 years old, and we have a statutory obligation to keep it up to date. And so my concern is we talk about this land like Lloyd Avenue, but it doesn't appear on the land register.
Sorry, Councillor, can I just, is this the motion that you're proposing to move? The amendment you're proposing to move?
And is
there an additional component?
If we can add 5, a procedure be prepared to give effect to the policy.
Is that correct, Councillor?
Yes.
Is that seconded? Yes. Councillor Williams, that is an amendment on the table. You can now speak to a councillor.
Right. Thank you. So I spoke to 3. 4 is to do with the land that we choose not to dispose. So as we go through this, if there are parcels that provide access to properties that we decide aren't suitable for disposal, and I understand there are some, I'm proposing that we dedicate them under the Roads Act so they don't keep on cropping up over time. And the third one is, again, as is standard government policy for complex policies that are imposed on an agency, that we prepare a procedure to give meaning to the specific terms.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillors, Councillor Preston, question or question?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the relevant director or the acting GM, is this not covered by the policy already? Like, presumably it falls beneath some criteria, such as just off the top of my head, whether the land is being used currently, I can't remember which provision that is, whether the land is currently used or required for future use, something like that. I feel like the reason, partially, and we've been through this multiple times now in debating this policy, but the reason that the policy is prescriptive enough yet still remains broad is so that it's a valid legal document that can be open to interpretation and not too prescriptive that it precludes action. So I'm just concerned that where we go down a path of prescribing too much in relation to very specific circumstances, that the policy becomes unusable. So would it not be covered by existing criteria?
General Manager.
Look, my opinion is the policy's got enough detail in there that we'll be reporting on to actually act as the procedures. There is, if you go through all the things that we have to do and what we have to look at before we can put a report up to council and it would address all these items, you've got the details, you've got a process to follow through, and you'll make a decision. All we'd be doing is extracting these documents and putting them into another. It's a lot of these voices and putting them into another document.
Councillors, any speakers against the amendment? For the amendment? Right of reply, Councillor Lane.
Look, I don't know how many different ways I can say it. most agencies that develop policies, develop procedures because there are ambiguities that need to be covered off, which are subordinate to the policy, so they don't change it. We've already pointed out a number of ways that there are ambiguities. We pointed out those ambiguities for Vernon Street. We'll just keep on pointing out all the ambiguities as we go, or like other agencies, we could just prepare a procedure so that everything is clear on its face and we can restore faith in our community that when we're acting objectively based on known standards and I would suggest Treasury parameter values.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Against? That is lost. Councillors, we move back to debate on the original motion. Is there any speakers for? Against? I'll have a right of reply. Councillors, we don't have procedures for any of our current council policies, I believe, apart from perhaps the ones prescribed by legislation. It is, I think that this is a robust enough document and has been rehashed and discussed enough times that ultimately what it will do is allow the staff to bring to council decision making, ultimately any remnant lands that are identified by the professional staff. So I think that it is a robust enough document that the council will know what it is that we are voting on, and as the ultimate decision-making body, we will be able to make that decision at the time on the relevant information that's provided. So I have absolutely no problem with the minor amendments that have been made to this policy. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with dissent of Councillor Williams and Lane. We now move back to item 4.3, progress report on delivery program and operational plan for the 6-month period, 1st January to 30 June 2025. Moved, Councillor Kassab, seconded Councillor Vergara. Any discussion on this? Councillor Vergara.
Question, Mr. Mayor. On page 60, code 4.1.1, review of the LEP and DCP. That status is progressing on schedule. Kind of doesn't make sense to me. We'll get an explanation for that status.
General Manager.
Yes. Director, do you want to say some words? I just realised I must have left my copy of it on the printer. If you comment, and I'll make some comments after.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Initiated this project was initiated back in 2019. However, due to COVID and our resourcing issues of staff, the whole project was delayed. However, the initial consultation relating to the LEP and DCP review commenced in March 23. We then put a report to the council on the October 23 with the issues and preparing the following community consultation feedback, and then that further report went to council and received and noted, and further recommendations were posed. Having said that, in the report of the 23rd, there was a timeline proposed with regard to the timing from May 23 to June, July 24, the process and consultation. And then we had further ordinary meeting on the 27th of November, where it considered the additional feedback from the community. And then following that, we had a further resolution to regard to amending the scope of the proposal to refer to the department, which was referred on the 23rd of January 2024. The department, then that report went to the LPP on the 28th of March. Then that report and the LPP report and the recommendation went to the ordinary council on the 27th of April, where it was resolved to go to the next stage of the gateway and all the standard procedures to follow with that plan proposal. Then it was recommended for that plan proposal to go to the department. In considering the above, on February 2025, it was resolved only recently that following the department's discussions and issues with regard to the plan proposal, the council split the LEP process into two components. One is the ordinary amendments, and the other part was the Schedule 5 of the heritage environmental issues. So we broke those two up. Having said that, we are at a point that we provided that to the department. Plan proposal has been updated based on the department's comments, and that was the report will be coming to council in August 2025 for a recommendation for it to go to the gateway. That's on the heritage component. Then hopefully they'll come back for the LPP to consider in November, and then we've got a report going to council in December 25 to tidy all of that up to the department. So all that process was highlighted in the council report of the 23rd of October, the timeline. So due to COVID, due to staffing, we was a slow start. Then we followed through with all those council reports, resolution of council, and now we're at a stage where we're at the crust of resolving or reviewing the LEP and DCP changes, and that will come to council in December. In between all that, we're going to the LPP, and we'll have further council meetings to take it to the gateway.
General Manager.
I think the director's covered it, but my understanding was that we sort of reset the times, and so we're sort of on track to the new times, but certainly it's taken a long time.
Councillors, any other discussion on item 4.3? Councillor Lang.
I had two items. I had the LEP DCP, but the other two as well were 1.4.3 is that the bike plan is complete, and I just wanted to query that. And 5.4.6 is the long-term financial plan is complete, and I wanted to query that as well, particularly given we have an undertaking to do a workshop on the latter.
Okay. All right, General Manager.
Just in the first one, in relation to the long-term financial plan, yes, it's adopted. So for as far as that is correct, what's in the document, yes, we have undertaken that we're going to, over the next 6 months, review it all and bring back and do a workshop. That'll just happen in the next 6 months. Right. I don't think there's anything incorrect in the document, but we've got more work that we've promised to do outside of last year's community strategic plan documents.
And then in relation to the bike plan.
Bike plan, if you want to make
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the comments regarding the bike plan were on the HH1 detailed design documentation, which are all but complete, except for one of them, which is a bit delayed, but they will be complete in the next week.
Councillor Kassab.
But thank you. I just nice words to say. So I just want to say thank you to Annie and her team, as always, and the rest of the directors for putting together the update. Very concise and very easy to read, which is great. I just wanted to mention also something that I've asked about before in regards to DA approval times, and that it's great, positive thing, not a bad thing. It's great to see that approval times are down at 85 days, placing us under the 90-day benchmark, which is great to see. And I did also want to highlight the very important and appropriate purchase and intended installation of additional defibrillation machines in the municipality. This was, of course, a project championed by former Councillor Crassoy and something I've always been passionate about. I'm glad I was able to continue her good work, and after my election, approach the then General Manager and discuss the important part that defibrillators play in our community, along with the need for improved accessibility. I'm so pleased to see that 3 additional devices have been ordered and are expected to be installed at Clarks Point Reserve, Claysville Reserve and Buffalo Creek Reserve in August of this year. You can never have too many defibrillators, and I'm sure there are many other locations around the municipality that would benefit from having one when funding permits. However, thank you to the team for getting that all organised.
Thank you, councillor Cassar. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr Mayor. Page 4, no, page 42. I saw it. Pick that up. 3.2.3. It says a draft final report on the library building nearing completion. I haven't seen anything formally come to council in relation to what this facility is and how it is going to be configured. All I've seen is the images that were provided by the consultant, which indicate that the council building is going to be relocated there. But my concern at this stage is that we're trundling down a path on this proposal. But the question to the general manager, acting general manager, through you, Mr. Mayor, does this final report include a feasibility and does it include a business case? Because how can council make a decision to move forward on such an important acquisition or development without the fundamentals being laid for it? To me, that is a precursor to council saying to the community that it is going to provide a library. We're not in a position to move forward. There's no indication of funding. So could the acting general manager inform me as to what this draft report includes?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it will include costings. We're just getting finalising the quantum of works through the architects now, so we can actually send that off to and get a very high level cost plan. And we'll certainly be coming back with some funding options. And then if you move forward, we'd do a business case after that, because you tend to do those two things before you do your business case, and then we'll do the final business case on operational plans and all those sorts of things that go with it. They're things that also need to go off to the Department of Office of Local Government for approval. Anything over a certain capital expenditure needs to get approved by the department as well, and the business case is part of those documents that we would submit to the department as well. So we've got a lot more work to do. What we've got now is a base brief concept. We can cost that, then we start to look at the costings and how we can piece that together from there. Still a lot of work to be done.
In my experience, Mr. Mayor, you don't proceed on important projects without a business case or a feasibility study. They're fundamental to the initial decision making. Having said that, I'll move on. Page 48, we have the top one, 1.1.1. We say the street sweeping program has been finalised and ongoing, but there's no indication of its effectiveness. It's an issue that I've raised on many occasions, and I don't believe just having a truck running around the streets is an effective outcome, and that program needs to at least quantify how the vehicles are deployed and how effective they are. Down the bottom of that page, 1.3.1, it says annual review complete on time, and it has a yellow which is behind schedule. There seems to be a conflict there. The same thing occurs on 1.4.2. It says that program completed on time and budget and da da da. To me, leave that one. Moving on to page I've already spoken about 3.1.3. You then go on to 3.3 on page 57. Well, okay, that I've addressed that. 3.2.4, preventive maintenance. Yep, that's all right. The next one that I've got a comment on is 3.2.5 on the same page 57. Again, I'm also passionate about defibrillators, and I think council needs to look more broadly as to how it may deliver public-facing defibrillators. And I've spoken to the staff about this, and I've initiated a program in our community to have defibrillators sponsored and maintained by businesses in our community, and I do compliment the Huntersville Medical Practice for picking up on that initiative and have very kindly provided an outward-facing defibrillator on their building. And I think that's an example which we need to follow in our community to ensure that the community has access. I can't understand why council still has its defibrillator inside the town hall and not on the front wall, but there are real opportunities in our community, and I've been talking to a range of potential supporters and providers. I would think the community needs to know where these things are without looking at a website. And why I've spoken to some of the medical practices, and I think that the pharmacies and other allied related services in our community could reasonably provide these facilities on the outside of the building, and people will just know where to go. Recently, somebody passed away because they couldn't access a defibrillator. So we need to have many more of them in our community, and I think just council doing 3, which is great. We need to make sure that we're engaging with our business community, particularly medical and allied related businesses, to sponsor and provide those in a public-facing way. And from my discussion so far, there seems to be a willingness to do that. And I think council could probably lead that process rather than me. We've already spoken about the LEP. That's all right. Then go. Yeah, I was just wondering in 5.1.3, page 65, minutes, mayoral minutes and reports are tabled monthly council meetings. Where does correspondence and meetings holds get reported back to council?
Councillor, the correspondence is now reported through the Chronicle, and meetings, if there are any, apart from the committees of council, can be included in the Chronicle, but there's not, apart from NESROC and the usual things, there's not a lot of sort of formal meetings unless it's been brought on by correspondence. But the Chronicle has usually reports those formal pieces of correspondence that come through from ministers and the like.
Yeah, I do recall you mentioning having meetings with departments and ministers.
It was organised by NESROC.
Maybe, but council wasn't advised. But the important thing is the Chronicle is not a public-facing document. I think it's important for transparency, and so councillors can be fully aware of what activities are going on, even by the general manager. They should be reported more publicly. That's just a comment there. Service standards across. I think on 5.2 or 5.23 on page 66, I still receive quite a number of concerns from community as to council not responding through their requests to council. But this tends to imply that we've got that under control and that everybody gets an answer quickly. Well, that's not necessarily what I'm seeing. I'm just wondering on 533 on page 23, we make reference specifically to the 712, section 712 plan, and then we incorporate in the comments section 7.11/12. Are we doing a 711 or not? And if we are, that should be a separate item within our reporting.
Yeah,
sure.
Yes, there's another report that will determine whether we do a 711 or a 712, and that'll be in the next 12 months action plan. So this is the response to today, like to the 30th of June. But yes, there's a report to the next meeting in relation to that matter.
Right. The last item on that page 5.4.6, we talk about the long-term financial plan that says that it was adopted and council will provide quarterly reviews on ongoing financial information and updates. But I can't see anywhere here reference to the fact that we need to repair that budget. And I think Councillor Lane made the reference of having a workshop, etc. But there doesn't seem to be any indication there as to what council is doing in relation to that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillors, any other discussion or questions? Councillor Sleeman.
I just want to say thank you for the report. I love a traffic light reporting system. I think it's very straightforward. A couple of points raised about, again, I keep hearing the term transparency. I keep hearing about, a lot of comments get thrown around, and I just see that as another way of misrepresenting what does occur in council and some of our decisions. And I also want to sort of make comment about Councillor Williams' comment about the implied service standards being adhered to. Well, let's agree to disagree, because I have had many community members who've come up to me and said that they have been, they've had all their responses received in a timely manner. And this would be the first exception. So if Councillor Williams has got examples, I'd love him to share it. But I've got about 100 emails that confirm and contradicts everything that Councillor Williams has said. So let's deal with facts, not misinformation.
Thank you, councillors. Councillors, any further questions, comments, discussion?
We'd like to make comments, don't we?
Any rather reply, Councillor Kassab?
No, I'm good.
No. Motion, all those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, can I just ask, of all the motions that are in the meeting, are there any that councillors have a burning desire to speak? There is a discussion. There's a statement to be read on item 4.5, and there are some councillors that need to be chosen for one of the subcommittees, being the grants committee. But is there any motions that councillors want to speak to? Councillor,
please.
Code of conduct, yes. Councillor
4.7 community grants.
Community grants, yes. Councillors,
The local government one.
which is the next one? Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
The conference.
Yep. Conference. Why don't we just do? Why don't we do that, councillors? We'll move to item 4.4, local government conference, 2025 annual conference. There's a motion in the paper. Is that moved? Moved, Councillor Preston. Seconded, Councillor Sleeman. Councillor Preston, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
No. Councillor Williams, do you have a question?
Not a question, Mr. Mayor, but I'd like to nominate that I'd like to attend the conference. Yes. And just so the general manager doesn't have any dilemma,
And I assume you're going to use that as part of your conference, your package as you did last year. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, that's fine. Thank you. Councillors, any further discussion? If not, I put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.5. There is a statement to be read out by the council staff.
Sorry, it's a long statement too, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It's in relation to Garuda Place and Mortimer Lewis Drive. Dear General Manager, this is my feedback on the proposed changes to the intersection control at Garuda Place and Mortimer Lewis Drive. Firstly, I agree with all three of the proposed changes: double centre lanes on Garuda Place, giveway line and sign on Garuda Place, double centre lines on Mortimer Lewis Drive. Secondly, there is one more critical safety change that needs to be made. Remove the single parking area on the north side of Mortimer Lewis Drive, heading east just before Garuda Place. The reason for this is due to the single car width driving space between that parking spot and the parked vehicles on the south side of MLD, Mortimer Lewis Drive. Many residents, including myself and visitors, have reported near head-on collisions at that spot. Vehicles travelling east on MLD have narrowly missed crashing into vehicles travelling west on MLD around the left-hand bend coming off Victoria Road. Both vehicles are positioning to navigate into the single car width space from both sides. Due to the trees, parked vehicles on both sides of the road at that spot and the bend in the road, visibility of oncoming vehicles from either side is very restricted. By eliminating the one parking spot on the north side of MLD, vehicles travelling east direction on MLD have the space available to safely pass oncoming vehicles. From that point onward, visibility for the rest of MLD, where it narrows to one car width due to parked vehicles on both sides, is sufficient for either side to see oncoming vehicles. I do hope that this additional change can be made to keep all residents and visitors safe when driving on MLD, as do the proposed changes. I appreciate hearing from you on this proposed addition to the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillors, there is a recommendation on page 97 of the report that the minutes be received and noted.
We've got an amendment to that.
Sorry, we've got an amendment to that, which staff have an amendment or
Council sent through and the staff agree because we haven't actually adopted the recommendations within them.
Sent through by you Councillor Kazab, yes, as the chair.
Yeah.
Let's pull that up so everyone knows what they're voting on. Okay, that is the proposed amendment. Is that seconded, councillors? Seconded, Councillor Lane? Yes?
The traffic committee doesn't make resolutions, it provides recommendations.
So received the resolutions.
They're an advisory
They're
body.
adopted.
They're not resolutions.
They're recommendations.
And their recommendations be adopted. Are you comfortable with that, Councillor Kazab?
Sure.
Yes, and Councillor Lane?
Yes.
Yes. Recommendations be adopted with the exception of item 3.B, which will be deferred to the August 2025 council meeting. Councillors, are we all comfortable with that? Staff are agreed? Yes. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. The draft community grants policy, item 4.6, reclassification of land in 4 Pittwater Road, Gladstone, just for noting. Councillors, is there a mover? Moved, Councillor Kazab, seconded Councillor Prieston. All those, any discussion? Preempted that, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, that is carried unanimously. Item 4.7, draft community grants policy and 2025 program on page 229. Councillors, is there a mover? Moved, Councillor Kazab, seconded Councillor Williams. Councillor Kazab, did you wish to speak to that motion?
Yeah. I just wish to say that I would like to nominate myself for one of the councillor
Positions
of the two councillor.
Thank you. Councillor, we'll deal with that after we've dealt with the motion. Sorry, Councillor Williams, wish to speak for?
Somebody, but
Yes, okay.
it's appropriate to do it after.
Yes, we'll deal with the recommendation, then we'll deal with the appointments. Councillor Lane, have you got a question?
I had a proposed amendment to the
Yes.
motion, which I've given to the staff. And it relates to unallocated funds.
Sorry, councillors, there is a proposed amendment which we can pull up. We'll have a look at. Everyone's sending amendments left, right and centre today.
No, not that one. Dead. Thank you. Right. So I note that last year we had an undersubscription of the grants.
Sorry, councillor, is that your proposed amendment to the motion? Is it seconded?
Yes.
Seconded, Councillor Williams. Now you may speak to the amendment.
Thank you. So the purpose is to add a new section to deal with unallocated funds. At the moment, the policy has a strict time frame, which means that if we don't allocate funds under the time frame, they effectively lapse. And therefore, we made some hasty additions at the end last year. Given that we had a need for funds that arose later in the year, I think it would be good to add a clause that just allows us to allocate unallocated funds during the remainder of the year. So this is intended to do that. It basically just says if there's unallocated funds that later on we can come back and allocate those funds, and that the committee would use its best endeavours. Did I use that word? I did. To meet and assess that. To meet and assess that request prior to it being adopted by the council.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. I guess for context, we've had this issue a couple of times before. We didn't amend the policy, which you're proposing to do. We did deal with that either by going back into reserves or by allocating it as we did this year. But and that's happened sporadically throughout the life of the grants funding. It used to be 5 or 10,000. It was pretty meagre when I first got on council, and it's been increased over time. But yeah, I do wonder whether it requires we'll get into the debate if you want to keep it, but whether it requires an amendment to the policy, given that's essentially what happens with unassigned funds. But I'll leave it to be debated. Councillors, any speakers against the amendment?
Just a question.
Yes.
During respect, probably to Councillor Lane, it says council may assign unallocated funds to another community program. Does that mean another applicant for a grant?
No, if we had a program that was underfunded, that we would. So, for example, the youth program, as an example in point, let's say we had an undersubscription and we wanted to tip it into the youth program, we could choose to allocate it to that program.
Which is very similar to what happened this year when we got an application from Mara's sister, the Mara School and the Hunters Hill Historical Society to undertake programs, which we then allocated. Councillor Preston, question?
Through you to the mover of the motion.
Yes, the amendment.
Yes. Would you consider, Councillor Lane, including some language at 1, which says council may council, following appropriate due diligence by the relevant director of council, and the report being brought to councillors in relation to any unallocated funds.
Drafting wise, I'd suggest we put it at the end, but I don't really have a problem with it.
And we just get rid of may assign unallocated funds.
Yeah, I think if you put it at the end, you get rid of that problem, because you'd have council may assign blah 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 blah, comma, following appropriate due diligence. I don't really mind how we structure the sentence, but sure.
Has that been accepted or?
Yes.
Yes. Let me just make sure it works. Sorry, after the word unallocated, could we put, like, what are these funds called? You know, community.
Unallocated, yeah, but it's in the grants. It's in the community grants policy. So I think that we're not unallocated in this case. Okay. All right. As a seconder, comfortable with that amendment? Yes. Councillors, any further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Sleeman.
I don't know if it's just semantics, but I don't know why we need to put a section in. I think we dealt with what Councillor Lane has implied, that we should include it in the event that we do have unallocated funds. We had unallocated funds last year. We applied it to extra initiatives. So I don't know why we need to change it.
Well, as I said,
Councillor Lane, if it's not answering the question, then if it's not answering the question, I'll leave it to your right of reply. But you can answer the question if it's an answer to the question of Councillor Sleeman.
So the issue that this is trying to fix is we may not be aware of what we would like to allocate it to at the time, and so this gives us a mechanism to either shift it to a different program or come back to bring it back when something arises. So again, like any policy, I just think better to capture it formally, since we had the issue and it seems like a fairly procedural process to the repair.
Okay. Councillors, any further discussion on the amendment? Right of reply, Councillor Lane. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Councillors, that comes the motion. Any speakers for the motion? Against? Right of reply, Councillor. Can't remember who moved it in the first place. Councillor Kassab. Any right of reply, Councillor Kassab? No. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, we will now move to item 4.8, Code of Conduct. Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry. Call for nominations for the committee. There's a indication from Councillor Kassab that she'd like to nominate. Councillor Williams would like to nominate, and Councillor Kassab and Tanu Sleeman. Councillor Lane. Okay. Councillor Lane, would you like to nominate?
Nomination.
Would you like to nominate for there's Councillor Kassab, Councillor Tanu Sleeman, and would you like to nominate?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. There's two positions. I'll have to put that to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Kassab? Against? Sorry, so I'll do that again. All those in favour of Councillor Kassab? All those in favour of Councillor Tanu Sleeman?
Can I vote for myself?
You can. It's not a conflict of interest. All those in favour for Councillor Mark Lane? That is lost. Congratulations, Councillor Kassab and Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Councillors, we now move to item 4.8, Code of Conduct. Thank you, Councillor Kassab, for correcting me on. We almost had a committee without committee members. Code of Conduct on page 239 of the agenda. Is there a mover? Move, Councillor Williams. Second, Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any speech to the motion? Councillor Tanu Sleeman.
I had a concern, and I was going to raise it in general business, but I've decided it's much more relevant under Code of Conduct. Over the recent months, I've observed with increasing concern the pattern of public commentary by various groups in our community, including councillors. Selectively quoted statements are being published without context, and implied political corruption and incompetencies are being portrayed. I believe it's necessary to place on record a clear response to these statements, grounded in evidence, legislative obligations, and council values. I want to be clear. Debate and scrutiny are fundamental to good governance. However, they must occur within appropriate forums, this chamber, formal consultations, and structured community engagement, where the full context of issues can be explored transparently, evidence tested, and decisions made in the collective best interest of the community. Misrepresenting council decisions through selective quotation and emotive rhetoric may build a personal political brand, but it does so at the cost of public trust in local government as an institution. This is not a cost that I am willing to pay, and I will continue to uphold the principles of honesty, accountability, respect, excellence, and teamwork in all that I do as a councillor, because I believe our community deserves it.
Thank you, Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any other speakers for or against? No. Right of reply. Councillor Williams. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously.
Exception.
With the exception of the mayor who's absent.
Got that. Thank you. 4.9.
4.9, procedures for the administration of the Model Code of Conduct Policy. Can I get a mover of this motion? Thank you, Councillor Williams. Seconded. Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any discussion? I put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. I didn't even know it. Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, now move to items. Sorry, that concluded 4.10. That concluded all of the. Is there any other items that we wanted to discuss, or we're comfortable moving items 4.10, 4.12, 4.13, 4.14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 in block?
I haven't read them, but I just want to make one comment on 4.10.
This is fine. Yep. Councillors, we're comfortable with that? Have we got a motion to that effect? Moved, Councillor Sleeman, seconded Councillor Vergara. Councillors, we'll put a motion to move all those in block. Moved, sorry, those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We'll now move all of those in block. Moved, Councillor Vergara, seconded Councillor Williams. Councillor Vergara, you wish to make comment on item 4.10?
I think it's a comment I've made before, and it's to probably the reporting officer or through you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to get some, we're going to see what Councillor Williams said, some thematic reporting on, the nature of the complaints, the resolution times, that kind of thing. So if we can get that maybe twice a year or whatever regularly you want to do it, help us.
Councillors, any further commentary on any of these items? Councillor Lane.
Yes, I actually wanted to make a comment on 410 as well. I just forgot. I just wanted to congratulate the council in marking up the changes so clearly. It made it much easier to follow than previously, and I look forward to that approach in the future. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Any further discussion, councillors? If not, I'll put the motions. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We have a question with notice from Councillor Mark Lane.
Yes.
Relating to the annual legal costs. Any matters arising out of that, Councillor Lane?
Yes, it unfortunately raised a further question because I couldn't reconcile the numbers with the numbers in the consolidated financial statement that we only passed last month. So I gave that question to the General Manager about the discrepancies. I accept that this may need to be to come back.
Perhaps that's.
I'm happy to circulate a response. We think we might be comparing, your comparisons might have been financial year 2025 as opposed to 26 budget, but we'll come back to you and confirm that.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back and
maybe that you're looking at the wrong figures, but
right.
We'll double check that for you.
Thank you. And then the second one was even on its face, there are some significant increases in all of the budgets, and I just wanted to understand what those revised budget figures were. I've listed them again in the question. So that was the budget for DAs, various legals and environmental legals are all revised.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide some details on where that's gone. Obviously, the legal report we put up to council details a lot of those as well, so you can pick up some of them there as well. But we can give you a list of those. I'd have to say that up until this was brought to my attention, the way we've been dealing with the reviews of our legal costs on a quarterly basis is not up to scratch, and when we will. With Christian, we'll be certainly doing it differently over the next for the next year's budget. If there is variations, we will be showing those variations every quarter and highlighting those for you. There seemed to be a previous regime where if there was income to offset through development applications, there didn't seem to be a need to raise the variation. So that's not how you do budgeting. We'll have that tidied up in future.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it's also just to the point of the jump that we are now significantly more, which we weren't before, and to understand how we live up it.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. We'll get that information to you through the staff. Councillors, and I recognise the partner of one of our esteemed councillors here who we're about to kick out of the meeting because we're about to go to committee of the whole. So sorry, Scotty, you're out. So no, don't close the door. Councillors, I've got a motion to move into the committee of the whole. Yes, move Councillor Kasab, second Councillor Sleeman. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. We'll close the doors and shut it for live stream. Thank you.